Vietnam is an incredibly overpopulated country. The trouble is, among those 80 million Vietnamese, you have almost no one who knows what cinema is about. So it's quite a problem to find actors and extras. In order to find them, we had to go through all the associations, the theater groups. They have a few traditional theaters. They have also sort of jugglers or people that you can hire for festivities and festivals. So I went through all those associations and found quite interesting faces and very gifted people.
Est-ce qu'elle peut s'asseoir comme si elle cousait?
I had to spend a lot of time with them because they were terrorized to meet a foreign director. So my attitude was to be sure that they would feel confident with me. So I'd spend hours and hours talking to them, knowing that I would not have time during the shooting period, because when I shoot, what I have to do is give all my time to my leading actors.
Bây giờ ra ngoài cửa đó, anh mở cửa, anh đón con chủ.
Đi quân sự已經話嘅啲衝破死啦。
Il fait trop de mouvements de bras. Il a simplement le texte à dire tout doucement et à voix relativement basse.
As the story takes place in the late 20s, we had to recreate everything. Costumes, locations, not necessarily because I'm a megalomaniac, but nothing remains of the period, especially in costumes. Most of the locations have been destroyed, and so in order to tell your story clearly and properly, you just have to take it from scratch.
Elle est très belle. Oui, je la trouve très émouvante comme ça. Oui, merci beaucoup. Voilà.
Au revoir.
Pour le film allemand, nous avons
The film called for at least 2,000 costumes, traditional costumes, rich colonialist costumes, military costumes, and of course, those of the little family itself. Not one is rented. We made them all. All the accessories, the hats, except for odd bits I salvaged. Otherwise, everything was made by a workshop of about 50 people, together with the subcontractors. I mean Vietnamese companies who agreed to make series of 300, 500 or 600 military costumes. We cut the patterns, gave them to them, and they made the costumes, remarkably well, I must say, particularly the military ones. It was great, very exciting, wild to work like that. Taking an idea and having it made in embroidery, getting all this cloth dye, all these samples, designing them because I couldn't find 20 prints, so I drew them and had them made. And on a professional level, I'm sure it's one of the films I'll remember.
J'aimerais le plus tard, c'est sûr.
In the same way that we had to open a workshop for the costumes, we had so much to do in terms of props and sets that we had to build a factory. We had to accommodate 800 workers. So as there is almost nothing in Vietnam, we really had to create the whole thing. We imported lots of tools, and we built a large shed near the Mekong where we built most of our props.
Et ça, c'est quoi, là?
Ça, c'est des fourneaux pour faire la
d'accord.
cuisine.
Et ça, c'est la cheminée du bac.
Là, ici, moi j'ai fait faire mettre, parce qu'ils n'avaient pas fini les pneus en pneumatique. Donc on a mis une bande de caoutchouc en attendant.
Je trouve ça mieux moi-même.
Et,
Ça très bien.
non mais les vélos c'est pareil, on en a fait fabriquer à partir de modèles de Manufrance. Ça c'est vélo de femme. Mais pour la jeune fille, elle aura un vrai vélo qu'on a acheté à Paris, d'époque et tout, avec tous les accessoires et tout, bien rouillé, bien patiné. Mais ça c'est pour les silhouettes, moi je vais pareil, plusieurs couleurs et tout, plusieurs patines, donc avec des porte-bagages, avec des poignées en bois. Il y en a 40, comme ça. Ça c'est, moi j'appelle ça un tilbury, c'est une calèche ou un tilbury. C'est vraiment le truc d'époque, c'est un monsieur qui... C'est un artisan, il a construit ça quand il était jeune, donc il avait des souvenirs par souvenir. On lui a amené juste une petite photocopie qu'on a trouvée, et il a tout refait comme ça par de mémoire et tout. Les roues c'est bois, cerclé de ferraille et tout, donc...
C'est tout fait à la main selon la méthode de l'époque. C'était les taxis de l'époque, des taxis des classes modestes.
Oui, non, classe moyenne.
Des classes moyennes.
Oui, les classes modestes vont à pieds nus, victimes du régime. Cái này nó ghé kìa. Cho làm ơn đừng chiếu à, chiếu không đâu.
Alors, non, voilà. Normalement, tu vois, la maison que l'on transforme, c'est cette bâtisse en face. Le palais bleu. On fait des terrasses devant. On vire les 3 maisons qui sont à la place des futures terrasses et des futurs jardins.
Tại vì cái phim này xảy ra năm 1927, thành thử ra chúng ta nên tập trung vào cái không khí của những cái năm đó.
On vous demandera à certains invités par moment de faire partie du cortège de la mariée et par moment de faire partie du cortège du marié.
Tại vì ở đây mình cũng làm
I have a scene that doesn't last very long in the film, but it was quite difficult to shoot. It's a Chinese wedding of the Fukin tradition. It was quite a difficult scene to set up because not only I had a lot of extras in a very strict ceremony, but I had picked a location right in the middle of a very busy little town called Sadek, which, by the way, was this little town where Marguerite Duras spent a lot of years, where her mother was a school teacher. And it was nearby that the real lover was living. I had with me a remarkable person, Mr. Sun Nam. He is one of the few intellectuals that remained in Saigon. Most of the others, they went to America or France. He is like a living memory of Indochina. So he helped me a lot, not only for precise details or physical details, but he helped me to understand the culture and the civilization of Vietnam today and the Vietnam of the past that I was portraying.
Allez, on va répéter, faut qu'on dégage le champ, s'il vous plaît, excusez-moi. Et qui marche doucement au début. Attention! Stand by, attention. Moteur!
I'm very often perceived like someone who is madly involved with details. But you have to understand that there is very little film material that has been shot in Indochina in that period, in the 20s or the 30s. There is almost nothing. And they insisted that this film was going to be a sort of reference. And Mr. Sonnam would come to me and say, "Remember, Mr. Arnaud, that you have to be very, very precise. If not, people will have a wrong idea of Cochinchina of those days."
Alors, mademoiselle, il ne faut pas regarder la caméra. Il faut regarder là-bas. Vous, il faut regarder là-bas. Hein? Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Vous êtes là.
Tous les gens qui sont là,
hein?
il y a des gens qui sont
Alors,
là.
cette fille-là, il regarde la caméra.
Despite years of hardline Marxism, the Buddhist tradition is still very strong in Vietnam. Every day we had to start with offerings to the god of the river, to the god of the land, to the god of the beach. And that was my advisor, Monsieur Sonnam, who would faithfully fulfill that duty. And stick in hands, he would bow to the unseen forces. Especially the day we filmed the wedding scene, because he feared that a small boat would turn over and that the gods of the river might take a life. But in fact, his tricks worked really well, and the filming went divinely.
Il faut déjà faire démarrer là-bas.
Ok, faites partir les barques.
Allons.
Attention, faites partir les barques. Tous ensemble, partez, allez-y, les orchestres et tout.